I might as well get to it.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have now come to the right place.
It's time for the late night snack.
That's where the drums kick in, because we're serious and we're ready to podcast.
You're professionals.
We can create a perfect world in our heads.
Welcome back to the late night snack. I'm your host, Maddie Sebestyen.
And I'm Dawson O'Brien.
And this is episode 11, which is very exciting. We're in the double digits now.
We made it 11 episodes. How does that feel?
Feels pretty good. I'm very excited. And this past week was Mother's Day. So it was Sunday. By the time you're listening to this, it was a couple days past. But we hope you guys all had a great time with your moms. We know that our moms support our podcast and we just love them and they're really the best. So we wanted to give them a little shout out on the podcast this week. And yeah, we hope that you all had a good time celebrating Mother's Day. I know we've been going over some funny holidays every week, but it was time to have a little serious moment for our moms. We have some great videos and news stories and funny stuff today. So I'm going to leave it to Dawson to intro our first video.
Yeah, like she said, Mother's Day was here. I was going to say shout out to all the moms out there. Didn't get a moment to say that, but shout out to all the moms out there. Keep doing what you do best, which is, being a good role model to everybody. Everybody loves their mom. Everyone should have a great mom, good role model in life. But this video I found, it just would be a real shame to be the mother of these guys, just because I think what happened is so embarrassing that it goes on to everyone involved. I even think if you're not even related and you were just physically there, I think you'd be embarrassed and be like, I think we should leave. So I just felt like I had to share this video with everybody.
Here we go. Can you see that?
Yep. So I just want to point out the incredibly off-key music, but that's just where we start.
How long is this? Oh, it's only a minute.
Wait for it. Oh my god. You can pause it. Oh man.
That's painful. That's just sad.
Oh. When you go on stage as a band to perform and the whole band turns around and looks at you and stops playing music, you know that you've really just screwed up the entire thing.
The kid puts down his guitar on the front. He's like, are you kidding me? I have to deal with this unprofessionalness in our middle school band.
And everyone remembers middle school. So just think you're a middle school kid and now a teacher's coming out to help you pick up stuff in front of the whole school. That is the most embarrassing thing that could happen.
But the audience is secretly a little happy because they've just been hoping that it would stop because it was so bad.
No, so what happened was they were secretly praying. They're like, God, please, if you're real, if you're out there, make it stop. And then that happened. They're like, all right, God, I didn't say ruin his life. I just didn't want to listen anymore.
Oh gosh. Oh, well, we love our moms.
Do you think he transferred schools?
I know some people who transferred middle and high school for some pretty silly reasons. So I feel like maybe.
Here's the thing though, is that video, I don't know how many views it is off the top of my head, but it's a lot. I'm pretty sure it's in the millions. So
his life is over.
What?
His life is just over.
No, his life's fine. I think now people are they sympathize with him. They're like, hey, look, simple mistake, happens to the best of us. And people relate to when they see that, they're like, oh, I remember my horrifically embarrassing middle school story,
Yeah.
So what was your embarrassing middle school story?
So I had my first kiss in middle school. And I know at first you're like, I don't want to hear the story until you hear that It was on school grounds. It was after school hours. I'd like to note that part. And some girls took a video of it, and at the middle school basketball game that night, showed everyone in my entire middle school. So
Yeah.
that was fun. Had to go to the
My-
principal's office for that. Just Catholic school things.
That's pretty not good. I went to a school, and our mascot was the Vikings. And I was approached by one of the teachers and was like, "Hey, we're looking for a guy to be a mascot if you're interested." And I was like, "That's so cool." And so I was like, "Yeah, I'll be the mascot." And they're like, "Trust me, no one's going to find out it's you. Just go out there and raise your hands, have fun. And the second I walked out onto the gym floor, I just hear, "Oh, it's Dawson. Hey, it's Dawson." And I was just like, "No, it's not." And then they heard my voice, like, "Yeah, it's Dawson.
How did
Dawson's
they
the mascot."
know?
Because I screamed back, "No, it's not." And they heard me.
But how did they guess it was you before?
You used to tell me that I have a very distinct walk.
You do have a very distinct walk. That's 100% what it was.
So maybe that was it. But
Why
that
was it embarrassing to be the mascot?
it wasn't embarrassing to be the mascot. It was just that no one, everyone just saw me. So then everyone was just screaming my name and
Yeah.
pointing. And it was just an attention overload, but it wasn't positive attention. It wasn't yeah, go Dawson. He's the mascot. It was Dawson's the mascot. And so I was like, oh, that's brutal.
Middle school kids are just mean about the weirdest things. Do not understand.
It was dumb. Yeah. So that's why when I see that video, I'm I think about oh, I remember my horrific experience with just embarrassing things.
Yeah.
So that's tough. But honestly, hey, look, my experience didn't end up on YouTube getting millions of hits and probably being monetized. So
True. Could have been worse. I mean, could have been better, I guess.
it could have been better. I think he's got, the best situation out of it. I think it's kind of a cool flex to be like, hey, you want to see my really embarrassing moment in life that everyone else has seen?
Yeah. It's rough.
It's kind of cool.
It's rough. That's not as good as your other. You have some good embarrassing stories. We should just have an episode of Dawson's embarrassing middle and high school stories.
Yeah, your life has sucked a lot. You should come on here and talk about
That's
it.
not what I mean. Dawson was also a 2-sport athlete, so he wasn't that lame. He didn't have too many embarrassing stories. I'm sure I have more.
I've done a lot of things. So I was in sports, I was in dance, I was in theater. I was all over the board throughout my whole life. So I basically have a story or two about everything someone has done.
That's just a really nice way to say that he's good at everything, which is the truth.
I wouldn't say good at everything. I just was interested in everything. I just wanted to I'm the kind of person that I've got one life. I don't want to go through life not knowing if I would have loved something. So I just want to try it all. Yeah, not what this podcast is for. But
well, we talked about our moms earlier, but this is actually a contribution from my dad.
Ooh,
this is a news story. Wait till you hear the title. Minnesota woman drives SUV through ex-boyfriend's burial service. My
that's
dad
nice.
Loves ridiculous stories. I remember being in the grocery store line with him as a kid, and there's all the tabloid magazines when you're checking out. And there was one that says, "Woman watches in horror as lover's head explodes."
I would have bought that.
I don't know what the story was about. My dad thought it was the funniest thing of all time, and has said that title so many times throughout my childhood that I have it memorized.
Did he not get it?
I don't think he did. I don't really think he didn't care that much. He just thought it was funny. He has all sorts of crazy.
That's a cool story to read though. I'd read that story. I'd want to know what's about it.
My favorite is that this woman said she reportedly told officers that she was careful not to hit anything.
Well, yeah, she's showing up.
But it says
she cares enough to come.
It says a middle school woman who was told not middle school, Minnesota, yikes. Woman who was told not to come to her ex-boyfriend's funeral was charged Monday after witnesses said she drove through the cemetery and tried to run over mourners during the ceremony.
Oh.
I'm gonna share my screen real quick.
She tried to run over mourners?
Told them she didn't, but obviously she did. I think is what happened here. I'm gonna share my screen real quick so that you can see what this girl looks like.
That's a dumb excuse to be like, I wasn't trying to hit anything, but you're, whoa.
I mean, that's a tattoo placement we haven't talked about on the podcast yet.
We do have a love for tattoos in this region on the show. If you've got a tattoo right here, send
Send
it
us a
to us
pic.
because we want to see it. We want to see it.
Is that a diamond, do you think?
Yeah, the diamond on the throat is like, I'll tell you what, you go into interviews, they're like, hey, I really dig that. It's a really cool look. That's like, I think she was trying to hit somebody.
I can't tell what's on her face.
Are those teardrops?
Teardrops? I don't know. If so, I'm really worried.
You know what the teardrop means, right?
Yes. Yes.
No. Which means like she was meaning to hit them.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that means.
She meant to. Yeah. Apparently, she was not wanted at the funeral because she made negative social media posts about her ex-boyfriend's death.
That'll do it.
Apparently, his father tried to talk to her, approached her in her SUV, and asked her to leave, but she accelerated toward him, forcing him to jump out of the vehicle's path. So,
that is a really neat story.
For the record, she is pleading not guilty.
You know what's going to be the easiest evidence ever? They're like, if you look at this photograph of the tire tracks all over the cemetery, you can see that a car drove right here, all over.
Yeah. Speaking of people who are saying that they're innocent, a quick news update. Kentucky Derby winner Medina Spirit fails drug test, and Bob Baffert hit with a suspension. So Bob Baffert is the trainer, I think, for the horse, or like the owner. And he's saying that like people are out to get him, that they drugged his horse or they faked the test to disqualify the horse. So if this comes out being true, then the horse didn't win the race and they're going to have a runner up, which I don't know if that's the first time it's ever happened, but I feel like it is. Is it? Have you heard of it before?
I don't really keep up a whole lot with equestrian news like that.
Sorry, neither do I.
I mean, I really want to get into it. I really like watching the Kentucky Derby, though. I didn't watch it this year because I didn't know it was on. I literally got
like real under the radar this year, I feel like.
It was. I got an ESPN update on my phone that was like, here's the winner of the Kentucky Derby. And then I told my mom, who's really into it, and she was like, there was the Derby today? Like, it was really hushed, which makes you think like, oh, like, why was it so hushed when there's also drug allegations now? But, that will come up in the future. But honestly, when it comes to steroids and drug use in sports, I think like if you're a human being and you want to put it in yourself and cheat and get away with it, that's your decision. That's your
cheat and get away with it.
Yeah. It's like, that's your call if you want to try to do that. If you get caught, you face the consequences, but that's your call to do that to your own body. But to like force a horse that just like,
I know,
they just want to race and do whatever. They don't understand, the drugs and stuff. They get injected with crap. It's like, that's not fair to the horse. Now the horse gets his trophy taken away.
I'm literally tearing up.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you cry. I just think it's not fair, and I think it's stupid. And I think horses are really athletic as they are, and you don't really need to drug them up to make them really fast. I think they're naturally really fast and athletic.
I also find it really interesting that this guy is like saying that he like will fight tooth and nail and that he thinks that it's like fake or whatever. But also this is his 5th horse to fail a drug test this year. He's
like, I don't know what's going on. I show up to these things, these horses peeing in cups, and I don't know
what works.
That'd be awesome if it was. But they're just like, I don't know what it is, but I think someone's framing all of my horses because frankly, all of them don't pass drug tests. And it's not me, obviously. So obviously someone's got it out for me.
I actually like I do think it's really interesting. I'll be curious just because like it is interesting that it showed up in the post-test one, but not the pre-test one. So like the chances that there is actually somebody trying to do it like could be real. So we'll keep you updated on that one.
That is interesting.
Because I like am very curious as to if like it really is a framing or if it's real. Not saying that people don't drug horses because they do, but it'd be interesting. We're gonna go back to another video clip. This is one that I had not seen. So Dawson feels appalled that I haven't seen this. Appalled. That But I
So
hadn't seen this clip of
I
Jake
feel
Paul.
like I feel like everybody is aware of the Paul brothers, especially right now. Jake Paul. I think Jake is all over. He's now not only all over the internet, but now he's all over the sports world. Okay, so he's trying to get into boxing and prove himself as a boxer, which is cool. Like if you want to prove yourself, like go for it, all for it.
Yeah, we
But
watched the
he
other
went
fight together, so I'm kind of up on what's going on.
right. He fought Ben Askren, who is a UFC fighter. He's not a boxer. He was a UFC fighter, but he still beat him. Right, and so that put him in a position where okay, I'm not just a guy who's doing these low level fights anymore. Now I'm trying to get into higher and higher fights. But he went up to Floyd Mayweather, who was like one of the best boxers of all time. He's undefeated. He doesn't lose, and he doesn't lose to the best fighters in
He's
the
from my
world.
hometown, so that's pretty cool.
Go Grand Rapids.
Whoop, whoop.
And he goes up to him and he rips his hat off of his head. And we have the video of it. You've probably seen this video. If you haven't, you have to see it because I just
And
I
somehow I missed it and haven't seen it.
I don't know how you missed it. This was all over everything. This is ridiculous.
Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Get the paperwork for this ball. Absolutely. Let me out here. I'm my own boss. I'm my own boss. One night. Got your hat. Got your hat.
He was like, I will destroy
Let me tell you something.
you.
Let me tell you
Absolutely.
something.
Let's do it.
Let me tell you something. So he stole his hat,
Yeah.
and then Floyd and his bodyguards like beat him up a lot.
Yeah, that did not look good for them.
No, and like so here's the thing too is people are saying Floyd's like, oh, I'm not necessarily just doing it for money, but just being like, like I'm gonna train a little bit and I'll fight and I'll win naturally, but I'm not
Yeah.
gonna go that hard. But people were saying after that happened and he
Oh,
got
no.
super disrespected, like Floyd's going to like he's gonna
Mess
come out
him
there.
up.
Here's the thing, he's fighting Logan. Okay. And
Oh,
I
I
feel
thought
like Logan is
I
a
wish he was fighting
completely
Jake.
he wants to so the idea was thrown out there 2v1 at the same time Paul brothers versus Floyd, which would be nuts.
That would be insane.
But I also don't think that's fair because I don't think
No.
no matter how good of a boxer you are, if you've got two good boxers versus
Yeah.
one great boxer, it doesn't matter. It's 4 punches against 2
That makes me think of
And-
Nacho Libre.
because that's the same sport and the same thing. You're right. Lucha Libre, professional boxing, same thing. But
Just connecting the dots. You know.
so he's fighting Logan, and then when he came up to him, as you can hear him saying, like, get the paperwork. He's talking about like, hey, let's sign the contract so me and you can fight. So
That'd be crazy.
I think now that that's happened, and people because celebrities went on there to like talk to Floyd, and they were
Yeah.
like, oh, you see Floyd's hairline? It was and like just like trashing Floyd a little bit, and then some people were like, dude, Jake, you're gonna die. You're
Yeah.
not gonna live anymore after that. And so people are doing 50-50 on which side you're going on. But people want to see this fight now. And I think Floyd is so upset. Like I would be
Yeah.
to have a career. Think about this. You've worked so hard your whole life to be the best boxer. You work your way up. You fight all the people you need to. You're 50-0, right?
Yeah.
You have done so many fights. You've won them all. You have this great name. And then some kid from YouTube rips your hat off and now people laugh at you. Oh, I would like be swinging for the fences. These punches, I would have never thrown a
Yeah.
harder punch in my life.
There was a TikTok going around before the last fight of Jake Paul being like, how did we go from, and it's like him doing the Disney Channel thing to like him doing this. And it's just like, yeah, no, you don't want to mess with, like, you want to mess up a Disney Channel kid for sure.
It's just
Dumb.
it's like, oh, here's the thing though, is like now ESPN's interviewing Jake and people, and I don't know if they've interviewed Logan yet. I didn't see that, but they've interviewed Jake and they're talking to him about like being a professional boxer. And like it's crazy to see. I'm watching ESPN, I'm watching like golf or whatever, and like in the little like bar at the bottom, it'll be like Jake Paul, blah 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 blah. It's like now the Paul brothers are just on ESPN.
I know. And it's crazy, just like in general, like little kids now are like, I want to be a YouTuber for their career. And I'm like, this is terrible. We need to, yeah, it's crazy.
And here's the thing, I'm like, there's so many people that just really want Jake Paul to lose. And the thing is, It's not the Disney. It's not the YouTube. What it is
Yeah.
just like his persona that he's wanting to be known as like this like loudmouth guy. Like people just hate that. And
Yeah.
it's great for promotion because people want to see him lose. So everyone's going to tune into that fight.
Yeah. No,
But
that's
like
crazy.
it's like the worst personality. Like it just is. Like I hate that. Like I want someone who's like a good role model for kids and stuff, especially if you're a YouTuber and your like demographic is like the 12 to 14-year-old range. Like
Yeah.
be a good person. Like going around and like loudmouthing everybody and I don't know, just wanting to like prove yourself through fighting. Like if you're into it as a sport, good, because I like the sport. I like watching it. It's fun.
Yeah.
But if you're just trying to be like, oh, I could beat anybody up, it's like, all right, cool. I don't
Cool.
know.
Yeah, good for you.
And if you want to go in the ring with Floyd Mayweather after pissing him off and get CTE more than anyone has ever gotten in their life, then go
Yeah.
for it. And you won't remember this entire period of life after a few right hooks from Floyd.
Yeah. Yikes. Well, have you ever imagined not only disrespecting one of the greatest fighters, but have you ever imagined disrespecting an entire country with a rock?
This was when you told me about this story. This is what makes my day. Here, you tell the story because I love this story.
A Belgian farmer made France smaller by accident when he moved a rock.
If you didn't hear that, he affected France, an entire country, France. He infected France because he moved a rock.
Yeah, so he moved this sizable stone that disrupted his tractor's path. But it turns out that rock actually served as a divider for France and Belgium. And by reportedly moving the stone 7.5 feet, he made France smaller and Belgium larger. So
That is awesome.
it's just crazy. Like, obviously, like, it's like the border isn't really just based on a rock these days. You know, that's like an old thing, but it's still kind of crazy that like this man was just like on his property, like moving his tractor. Cause you hear people like getting in fights with their neighbors about like the like property line, you know what I mean? And like people like build
Right.
fences like a foot over or whatever, and people get mad. But like this man really did that to a whole country
Yeah.
by just like moving this rock.
Do you think like he's gonna be like a Belgian hero?
Maybe.
Hey, also we've got listeners in Belgium.
Oh, true.
If you know more about this story, email us. I want to know what like your country is doing about this. This is so interesting.
It like says that the farmer's unnamed. Like I don't think it's like a big deal.
I mean, I think he's going to be unnamed, but like if the story's reaching us,
Not that it's not a big
Belgium has
deal.
heard about it.
But yeah, no, for sure. It's like, it's pretty wild. It says, if the farmer, oh my gosh, wait, I didn't even read the rest. It says so basically the borders of France were decided during a treaty sorry, I'm about to get a real history lesson on you. France and Belgium originally established a 390-mile border on March 28th, 1820 with the Treaty of, I'm going to butcher that, but something. Anyway, the movement of the border stone could potentially be viewed as a violation of the 201-year-old treaty. However, the BBC reports that authorities have reached out to the farmer who moves it, and if he complies, moves it back, we're not going to have any issues.
What if he started a war?
Even if he's like, no.
What if he's like, but then I can't move my tractor? And they're like, okay, well, I guess we're going to have to start attacking.
That is crazy. It's just crazy. You never think about like how much power you really have.
I think that's like, that goes,
It's the moral of the story.
that's like your fun fact every time you are at something to like say your name and a fun fact about yourself. And you're like,
You're like-
hi, I'm a farmer and I almost caused a war and affected a treaty that was 200 years old.
And they're like, wow, by doing what? Like, what crazy thing did you do?
I moved a rock.
Like, I moved a rock 7 feet.
I feel like if it was a massive rock like that, how did he move it?
I have a lot of questions. I hope someone does an interview with this man, the man who almost started a war. That'd be a great documentary, I feel like.
You know, the guy like moved it and just went about his day and he went to sleep and he woke up and like people are knocking at his door and it's like government officials are like, hey, if you don't move that back, we're gonna go to war.
Yeah. Big time yikes.
Big time yikes. That's your reaction to going to war is big time yikes.
I just don't know what else to say. I'm really glad I'm not that farmer, and I'm really glad I'm not going to, well, thankful that I don't live in France or Belgium right now.
If you're in France listening to this, or if you're in Belgium listening
Is
to
this
this,
a big deal to you? I'm curious.
yes,
The
let us
people-
reach out. Let us know. We want to hear about it. We're
I
very
know there's
interested.
some of you out there that listen in France and Belgium. So
There are some. Also, keep telling your friends out there. Keep growing it.
spread the word. Maybe one of you knows the Belgian farmer and you can give us an in.
What if he listens?
I hope he does.
He's like, hey, look, there's two things I do. I farm and I'll listen to the late night snack. That's my life.
Two good life plans. On that note, if you're a listener of the Late Night Snack, you should also be following our Instagram at Late Night Snack. Nope, that's wrong. At Late Night Snack Pod on Instagram. And the email is latenightsnack.thepodcast@gmail.com. So you can send us more funny videos and stories so we can hear more about things. Including
Also,
my dad.
as I mentioned on a previous podcast, my Instagram is at it's Dawson. I will be posting some updates about some stand-up times and locations in Tennessee, mainly Middle Tennessee. So if you're in the area and you want to come out and support, go for it. Follow me there. You'll get all the deets and keep up to date with that. I'll also be sharing some highlights I get from those.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much for listening. We're super psyched about Dawson's open mic, so make sure you follow him on Instagram, and I'll post all of the updates for that on the Late Night Snack as well, so that everybody can hear about it and go see him, because I wish that I was going to be able to be there. So you guys are going to have to show out for me. But yeah, thank you so much for listening to episode 11 of the Late Night Snack. Make sure that you give us a follow on Spotify and give us a follow on Apple, because they started doing that now. Rate, subscribe, like, follow, all the things, and we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Well, I might as well get to it.